Hello families, this is Ms. Hoffman here to give an overview of how to read and understand your students' iReady Diagnostic Results report page or sheet. So we're going to take a look at two example sheets today of what the scores might look like on your reports for math first and then reading. So when you see your students' report page, you will come upon it and see in the middle a graphic of a blue bar, which is your student's current score of points as a scaled score up to the top of the blue bar, up to that dark blue line. And it will be near a green range area. On the right, there will also be a table that shows again your student's overall scaled score in that subject, math or reading, as well as a breakdown underneath it of your student's performance level on each of the domains or topics within that subject. So for math, there are 4 domains or topics. They are number and operations, which can include adding and subtraction fluency, algebra and algebraic thinking, which can include word problems, measurement and data, and then geometry, which includes understanding of shapes. And so for each of those topics, it will list a breakdown of how your student performed, and it can show things like grade 1. Your student could score at an early 2, which is early second grade, mid 2, or late 2. And in some cases, if your student has scored up into that range, you might see a grade 3. And so for this time of year, overall, we expect that students on this first diagnostic, we expect that they would be at about grade 1 or early 2 because they are leaving first grade and entering second grade. So students are usually around grade 1 or early 2 at this time of the year. Going back to the middle where there's that blue bar, you can see your student's score represented by that bar as well as a green range above it of all green. That green range, it represents all of second grade, meaning that from the beginning of the bottom of the green all the way to the top, which is a score of 428 going up to 506, that's the range that students usually go through during their year of second grade as they continue to advance. And inside that green range, you can see a bright green line. That bright green line in there is called the mid on grade level line, and it represents where students might score for grade level proficiency at this time of year. So you could see how your student has performed in comparison to that line, which is kind of like the average of proficiency for this time of year. There's also a solid black line called the typical growth line and a dotted line called the stretch growth line. The typical growth line is where your student might score by the end of the year. So the average annual or yearly growth for a student at this grade level and their initial placement level on this first diagnostic, where they might end the year as they continue to grow. And the stretch growth line, the dotted line, that's an ambitious but attainable, achievable level of yearly growth or a goal for students that would put students who are below grade level on their path to proficiency, so to get them closer to proficiency as we continue on. And parents and family members, please keep in mind that iReady is only one data point that we look at when we look at your students' academic growth. And it's not always completely accurate, especially because of the challenges of taking the assessment at home. So please keep that in mind. We do keep an eye on your students' growth on iReady and their lessons. And we notice when their lessons are too easy or too hard for them based on the diagnostic. So we can and do assign special lessons to students and adjust their lesson levels when we notice that things are too easy or too hard for them so they can get the level of instruction they need that's just right for them. All right, so that was math. Let's take a look now at an example of a reading report. So here comes the reading one. One thing to notice, everyone, for reading is that there are more domains. There are more topics inside of the reading diagnostic, and so you'll see more categories listed out in that table on the right for your student's report. So in the table, it will say again your student's overall score for the diagnostic of the diagnostic for reading. And then it will list out the domains inside reading, and those are phonological awareness, phonics, high frequency words, vocabulary, comprehension of literature, and comprehension of informational text. The top three can show either tested out or max score if your student has received the maximum score on those foundational skills that they learn up through second grade. And if it says tested out, that means they have reached the maximum too. So for phonological awareness, that's the student awareness of the sounds and letters that connect with each other for phonics and how they're related. And phonics is being able to understand, manipulate those letters and sounds and change words and understand and read words using phonics. And high frequency words are words that we see all the time when we read at a second grade level. And knowing and recognizing these words can help students read smoothly and fluently and understand easily. And then for vocabulary, that's what words students know. And if they don't know a word, how they're able to use context clues to figure out new word meanings and use those words. And then comprehension of literature is understanding things like stories and fiction and narratives. And then comprehension of informational text like reports and other books. And in the middle, again, you can see your students' blue bar that represents their scaled total score overall, where they are falling in that green range of all of second grade, the mid on grade level green line, and then your students' projected typical or stretch growth for this year. All right, families, I hope that this has helped you understand and read your students' scores a little better. Remember that they're not always perfectly accurate, and it's just one part of your student who is a full person, and we're learning more and more about them. All right, everyone, see you later.